Well, it is 12:20, so I'm going to start. And welcome to this month's College Themes presentation. I know I'm not Brian, but hopefully I will make you guys all happy and learn something anyways. My name is Krista Winters. For those of you who don't know me, I teach biology here, specifically anatomy and physiology and microbiology. So I'm one of the biology professors. And this college theme presentation is Who Can, We Can? The Will to Overcome with Community College. And so this is really just my story about how community college helped to shape me into the individual you see here. And since it's my story, I put a lot of pictures of me in it. So there's not a lot of words in here, but there's a lot of pictures of me and my family. And I added this picture because this is like a huge picture of my whole family. I added it so that people who may know Bobby Winters will be able to see what Bobby used to look like.
Oh my gosh.
And Charlie Cox up there.
Oh my gosh.
And then of course there's me and my family. So.
Use your clicker.
All right, this is all about, oh man, I have a clicker, so I'm not good with clickers yet, but, so this is about me, and so I wanted to play a game, 3 truths and a lie. So I'm gonna give you 4 statements. One of these is a false statement, so let's see if you guys can pick it out. The first is, I'm a high school dropout. The second, I got married at age 17. The third, I was a mom at age 18. And the fourth, I've been married for 22 years. So if you think the first one's correct, you're gonna raise 1 finger. If you think the second one is, 2, third, or fourth. Okay, so everybody raise your fingers of what you think I am. Which one's the lie? I guess which one is the lie? So I see a lot of correct answers in here. That's awesome. So the correct answer is I have been married for 22 years. I have not. I've actually been married for almost 30 years. This July 18th will be 30 years with my husband. So I did get married at age 17. I also dropped out of high school at age 17. And 9 days before our first anniversary, I gave birth to our first child. So I am a high school dropout, but yet I'm also a college professor. And that's pretty awesome. What that tells you is that you can become anything. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. Once you come to community college, you can change your life. Okay, community colleges can really shape you. They did for me. So let me talk a little bit about my high school experience. I hated biology. I hated all of the academics associated with school. I was a really bubbly, active, socialite student. I lived in a really small town, so we had like 1,000 humans in our town. So our high school was really small, but I was really active in all of the social aspects of high school. Did not like the actual learning portion. And because of that, I took as many of the remedial type classes as I could get into. And apparently, my science teacher thought I was too smart and said, you need to move up. And so in my junior year, I was forced to go into an actual biology class. I hated the biology class. I didn't want to learn biology, and the biology teacher expected me to learn, and it didn't work for me. And I ended up getting a D- in that class, and I thought I'm never taking another biology class ever again in my life. And I was dropping out of high school anyway, so it was going to work out because I wasn't going to go to college either. My whole goal in life at that time was to get married to a man that would take care of me, and I was gonna have kids and be the perfect Betty Crocker mom. So I hate cooking. I don't I do love kids, and I did have 4 kids, but I found out I don't want to be a Betty Crocker mom. So it didn't work out the way I thought it would, but that's okay. And So like I said, I was a very big socialite. I should have showed you this picture. So when I was in high school, I really focused on all of the extracurriculars. I was a cheerleader, I was in pom-poms, I was in a dance class, I did cross country, I did track, and I worked. And so, school was just, so the academics of school was the part that I just kind of pushed to the side, which is why I only had a 1.9 GPA. And also why I didn't want to go to college, because I didn't think I needed college. I wasn't planning on doing anything. 4 children, and 10 years later, when I was 27, I did decide to go to college. So when I was 18, I gave birth to this child here. That's Jacob. When I was 20, I gave birth to her. This is Alicia. 21, Ashley. And then 26, Nick, and he's the one that walks around now. He's 20 years old. So he comes around and goes to a lot of your classes now. And this little one here is actually also 20 years old, and he's around this campus as well. This is Matt Cox, Charlie's kid. He was photobombing before photobombing was cool. So when I hit 27, I decided I was going back to college. Or I was going to college, I guess I wasn't going back. I was going back to school. And my goal at that time was to become a nurse so that I could make a difference in the individuals that I was taking care of. I was a CNA at the time. I had previously went through and got my GED. So I, at this point, was able to jump into college. But again, I had a 1.9 GPA coming into the college, so I had to take a lot of the remedial classes. But I was able to get right into biology, apparently. And so I went to Carl Sandburg College, which is a community college in Galesburg, Illinois. And my very first class was biology. I was not looking forward to it because I remembered my high school biology being horrible, hating every minute of it. And I was really scared that I was going to fail. And so I did what most people never think to do. I actually opened the textbook and I read. And I read the textbook and I was interested. It was like, nobody reads a textbook and thinks it's interesting, but I did. I was so fascinated. I would take the textbook to the gym and I would exercise while reading. Like, so weird. But I did it. And I ended up getting a really good grade in that biology class. And so I took microbiology the next semester. And I also realized in that second semester that when teachers would say stuff, some students didn't understand it. And then I would say, well, let me explain it a different way. And I did. And they understood me. And I was like, wow, this is kind of fun. I can teach other students. So I became a tutor. And so I was tutoring biology, even though I had a D- in high school biology. I was enjoying my classes because I was actually putting effort into them. I even took, and I had to take classes that I didn't think were part of what I was considering, a nursing degree. I had to do a speech class and stuff, but I really had fun in speech. It was just so much fun learning all these new concepts. And probably because I had a much more open mind at age 27 than I did when I was 17 and I dropped out of high school, I decided I didn't want to become a nurse anymore. So my second year, I had changed my career goal, and the best place to do that is at a community college because it costs a lot less to change career goals at community college than it does at university. I changed my career goal and I decided I wanted to go straight biology because it was so much fun. And so I had to take a lot of these other courses that were like general education courses. So people who are in accounting or going into, agriculture isn't general education. I think that's more the other side. So business. You have to take some classes that may not seem like they were part of what you're going for. So one class like that for me was art appreciation. And I remember thinking, I don't even know why I'm going to be a biology person. I have to take art. And I learned, so in art, I learned a lot of I learned that I don't know art, that I am really bad at picking art out. But I also learned that biology and art go hand in hand. You have people who we ask you to draw pictures. So anybody who's in a biology class knows they've had to draw pictures of cells, of petri plates, of whatever it is we're describing, chromosomes, whatever. And so that's art. Drawing pictures is art. And then I started thinking maybe I could become an art biologist where I could draw pictures and do stuff like that because art was kind of fun. I didn't do that. But I thought about it for a second. So I learned that all these classes were going together and I was learning stuff from every single class I took. And the biggest thing I learned at Carl Sandburg College though was that I could be anything I wanted to be. I actually had potential to do whatever I wanted to do. So prior to Carl Sandburg College, I thought I was stupid. So if you know me, and everybody in the back does, I'm a little bit ditzy. And probably my students that are in my class so also know I'm a bit ditzy. And ditzy can come across as stupid. So sometimes people would say things like, oh my God, I just pulled a Krista. Because, if they did something dumb, they'd call it a Krista. And it was like, wow, I'm not that smart. But actually, you know what? I am smart. I'm a little bit ditzy. It's a thing. It's just a characteristic. That's me. It's a trait of mine. But I'm actually really smart at what I know. And I learned that at Carl Sandburg College. Had I not went to Carl Sandburg College, I would probably have never went on to teach biology. And so those of you who've taken my biology classes would be deprived. I don't know if that would actually be a deprived. I would hope that you would think that like that. So I really, I learned a lot, but the biggest thing I learned was that I have a lot of potential, and it was my instructors that pulled that potential out of me and let me see what I could do. And you don't get that at university. So I went to university after this. I went to Western Illinois University. A lot of you have heard of WIU, and a lot of people say it's a party college, which it is, but it's also a college where you get what you put in. I put a lot of effort into my college, and I got a lot out. So that's me in my bachelor's degree, and this is me with my master's degree. I received my bachelor's degree in 2008, major in zoology, minor in microbiology. And then in 2010, I received my master's degree in biology with an emphasis in entomological parasitology, which is a very fancy way of saying I cut open a lot of insects, specifically cockroaches, and I looked at the worms inside of them. So, more cockroaches than you could ever imagine. And all of this led me to where I am today. So I started teaching in 2009. This was the first school I taught at, Spoon River College. It was the first place to hire me as a part-time instructor. I taught microbiology. And then I started teaching at Sandburg as well, anatomy and physiology fundamentals. And I started teaching full-time here in 2011 in the biology department. This is, me back when we had that was Lizzie, our bearded dragon. She has since passed. This is actually me when we were doing Happy. So I found it on the SRC Facebook page. And I've been teaching general biology, anatomy and physiology, microbiology ever since. And I've been sharing my story with students and helping students to realize that they have a lot of potential that that maybe they didn't realize they had. And hopefully I've inspired you guys to realize that you all have potential. So everybody in here can do something and knows something really well. And you can use that to enhance your future. So that's my story, and it was only...
You're on time. You're good.